Across America, the housing market is shifting again, and this time, it's the landlords who are panicking after years of rising rents and bidding wars. The tide has turned. New apartments are sitting empty, for rent signs stretch across entire blocks, and investors who once believed housing was a guaranteed gold mine are watching their profits evaporate. According to data from ApartmentList and Redfin, rental vacancy rates in major metros have jumped to 7.4%, the highest since 2015. Builders overdeveloped during the pandemic boom, expecting endless demand. But now, migration has slowed, affordability has peaked, and renters are pulling back. The result is clear: skyrocketing vacancies, slumping rents, and a reckoning for landlords who borrowed big when the market was hot. Today on Discover the Nation, we reveal the top 10 U.S. cities where vacancies are skyrocketing right now and explore how overbuilding, outmigration, and inflation have combined to create the most dramatic rental downturn in a decade. And before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, we uncover the real story behind America's housing transformation, the truth the headlines leave out. Let's begin.
Number 10. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix once symbolized the new American dream: wide open skies, affordable homes, and a booming job market that pulled in families and remote workers from across the country. Between 2020 and 2022, it was one of the fastest-growing metros in the U.S. Apartments filled before construction finished, and landlords doubled rents without fear. But in 2025, that dream is breaking apart. The city's rental vacancy rate has climbed above 9%, more than double what it was 2 years ago. Construction never slowed, even as demand began to falter. More than 22,000 new units hit the market this year alone, overwhelming a city now losing residents to heat, high costs, and vanishing water resources. Climate fatigue has become real here. The relentless summers, reaching record-breaking temperatures, are driving families and retirees to cooler, more stable regions. Add to that the growing restrictions on water use and a tightening job market as tech and logistics firms cut back, and Phoenix's appeal has dimmed dramatically. Landlords are fighting to stay afloat. Incentives like 2 months free rent and no deposit required cover billboards across the metro. Rents are down 8% year over year, the steepest decline since the Great Recession. Downtown luxury towers that once symbolized progress now glisten half-empty, their rooftop pools reflecting silence instead of life. The story of Phoenix isn't just about overbuilding. It's about the clash between ambition and sustainability, a city that soared too quickly, ignoring the natural limits beneath it. For developers, it's a painful reckoning. For renters, it's long overdue relief. And for the nation, Phoenix is an early glimpse of what happens when population growth, construction, and climate change collide. This is no longer just a cooling market, it's the first warning of what unchecked expansion can bring.
Number 9. Austin, Texas. For a decade, Austin was untouchable, a city of music, tech, and booming opportunity. Startups exploded, housing demand surged, and luxury apartments sprouted like glass forests across the skyline. The pandemic made it even hotter. Californians, New Yorkers, and tech nomads all flocked to what they called the new Silicon Valley. But by 2025, the party has ended. Vacancy rates have soared to 10.2%, nearly 3 times the national average. Entire high-rises stand dim at night, their glossy marketing banners now offering 3 months free rent and no fees. Downtown Austin alone has more than 8,000 vacant units, while another 20,000 are still under construction, an avalanche of supply chasing shrinking demand. The culprit? The tech slowdown hit harder here than anywhere else. Major layoffs at companies like Tesla, Meta, and Oracle have drained Austin's renter pool. The remote workers who once paid premium prices for skyline views are gone. Even East Riverside, The Domain, and South Lamar, neighborhoods once bursting with energy, are seeing for-lease signs multiply. Rents are falling fast, but not fast enough to match incomes. Landlords are cutting prices and throwing in perks like gym memberships and free parking, but the renters aren't biting. Many are moving to cheaper Texas metros like San Antonio or out of state entirely. Austin's boom was built on optimism, the belief that the influx would never stop. But when the music fades and the lights dim, what's left is oversupply, rising taxes, and a market that forgot equilibrium. The city that symbolized innovation is now confronting its first true housing correction. For landlords, it's a rude awakening. For renters, it's long-awaited balance. And for the rest of America, Austin's fall is proof that even tech-fueled cities can crumble when growth outpaces reality.
Number 8. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta was once the South's shining symbol of progress. Cranes rising over Midtown, tech jobs flooding in, and a housing market that seemed unstoppable. From Buckhead's high-rises to West Midtown's modern lofts, the skyline told a story of ambition and growth. But in 2025, that story has changed. The city's rental vacancy rate has climbed to 8.6%, up from just 5% a year ago. Developers chasing record migration numbers built thousands of new apartments that now sit half-empty. Rents remain high, but wage growth has stalled, leaving new units priced out of reach for many local workers. Even the once booming short-term rental market has cooled. Thousands of Airbnb properties have flooded back into the long-term rental pool after new regulations and declining tourism, creating a surplus that landlords never planned for. From Midtown's glass towers to East Atlanta's boutique complexes, leasing agents are struggling to fill space. Incentives like free rent, waived fees, and flexible leases have become the new normal. For small landlords, the situation is dire. Properties that once rented in days now take months. The math doesn't work anymore. Property taxes are rising, insurance premiums have doubled, and maintenance costs are surging. The profit margins that once drew investors from across the country are vanishing. Yet Atlanta's story isn't more than a housing correction, it's a reality check. The city's rapid expansion was built on endless growth projections and investor speculation. But population growth is slowing, inflation is squeezing renters, and the cost of living is catching up. Atlanta still glitters from afar, but beneath that shine, the cracks are showing. For a city that prided itself on unstoppable progress, 2025 marks a turning point, a reminder that even the strongest markets can overheat when greed outpaces gravity.
Number 7. Tampa, Florida. Tampa was once one of America's hottest real estate success stories. Between 2020 and 2023, investors poured billions into the city, transforming its skyline and fueling the kind of optimism that made it feel unstoppable. Everyone wanted a piece of Tampa, from Wall Street firms to remote workers seeking waterfront views and lower taxes. But in 2025, that confidence has cracked. Vacancy rates across the metro have jumped to 9.1%, a level not seen in over a decade. Apartment communities along the I-275 corridor, once impossible to get into, now struggle to fill units. Rents have slipped nearly 6% year over year, while incentives are at record highs. First month free, no security deposit, and even cash-back move-ins are plastered across billboards that once advertised exclusivity. The problem is structural: too much luxury supply and not enough sustainable demand. Developers built high-end towers catering to affluent newcomers, assuming Florida's migration wave would never slow. But insurance costs have tripled, hurricane risk has driven some residents north, and the cost of living has outpaced wages. Middle-class renters are leaving Hillsborough County altogether, choosing nearby Pasco and Polk counties where rents are hundreds cheaper and insurance headaches fewer. The ripple effect is visible everywhere. Parking garages half empty, lobbies quiet, rooftop pools shimmering under silence. Even downtown's once bustling Riverwalk corridor feels subdued. Tampa's landlords are discovering a painful truth. When your market depends too heavily on migration, the slowdown hits twice as hard. Demand fades, then rent revenue collapses. Tampa isn't collapsing, it's correcting. But for those who bet big, that correction feels like freefall.
Number 6. Las Vegas, Nevada. Few cities reinvent themselves like Las Vegas. After the pandemic, it wasn't just the Strip that roared back. The entire valley exploded. From 2020 to 2022, Las Vegas ranked among America's fastest-growing housing markets. Californians rushed in, investors piled on, and developers raced to build luxury towers across Summerlin and Henderson. But in 2025, the roulette wheel has stopped spinning. Rental vacancies have surged to 9.7%, nearly double the pre-pandemic rate. Construction cranes still hang over the desert skyline, but many of the projects they built now sit half-empty. Rents have fallen 7% year over year, and concessions like first month free or no deposit have become the new normal. Developers bet on endless tourism and migration, but both have cooled. Visitor traffic to the Strip is slowing, inflation has dampened consumer spending, and rising interest rates have drained investor enthusiasm. The same landlords who financed their properties at variable rates during the 2021 frenzy are now watching profits vanish under higher payments and shrinking occupancy. Meanwhile, the service workers who make the city run, bartenders, dealers, and hotel staff, are struggling. Even with falling rents, affordability is worse than ever, forcing many to relocate to cheaper outskirts or neighboring states. Each departure leaves another empty unit behind, fueling a dangerous cycle of oversupply and declining demand. Away from the neon lights, the signs of stress are everywhere. Once bustling rental offices sit quiet. Leasing agents stand outside with clipboards, waiting for foot traffic that never comes. Las Vegas still glitters, but the shimmer hides the strain. The city built on reinvention now faces an identity crisis. Too many luxury rentals, too few renters, and an economy tied too tightly to boom and bust cycles.
Number 5. Dallas, Texas. Dallas once felt invincible. The corporate relocations, the sprawling suburbs, the endless cranes. It was the symbol of Texas growth. Between 2020 and 2024, the Dallas-Fort Worth metro added more rental units than any other U.S. city, over 100,000 apartments. Developers called it progress. Economists called it unstoppable. But in 2025, the limits are clear. Vacancy rates have climbed to 10.5%, one of the highest in the country. What was once a red-hot rental market now feels eerily quiet. New communities across Plano, Frisco, and Uptown are offering unheard-of deals. 3 months free rent, waived deposits, and discounted parking just to compete. The issue isn't just overbuilding. It's the end of the migration surge that fueled it. For years, Dallas benefited from a flood of newcomers from California and New York seeking affordability and jobs. But with inflation rising and job relocation slowing, that wave has finally crested. Corporate expansions haven't been able to keep up with the massive supply. Major firms that once promised thousands of new workers have downsized or frozen hiring. Meanwhile, developers who borrowed heavily during the boom are now facing loan payments that no longer match their rental income. The result is a market in limbo. Some landlords are holding units vacant rather than slashing rents, hoping for a turnaround that hasn't arrived. Others are quietly selling properties at a loss. Dallas still shines from a distance. Glittering towers, packed highways, and a reputation for opportunity. But behind that energy lies exhaustion. The cranes that once symbolized growth now stand as reminders of overconfidence. For landlords, 2025 marks a sobering reckoning, the moment when endless expansion met economic reality. For renters, it's the first real chance in years to breathe. Dallas's rise was built on ambition. Its slowdown is built on truth. Number 4. Denver, Colorado. For years, Denver was the dream city for a new generation of Americans. The backdrop of the Rockies, endless sunshine, and an economy bursting with tech startups and outdoor energy made it one of the most desirable places to live in the nation. Between 2020 and 2023, rents skyrocketed by nearly 30% as newcomers from California, Texas, and the Midwest poured in. Developers responded the only way they knew how, by building. But in 2025, that dream is coming apart. Vacancy rates have surged to 9.3%, and rents have fallen almost 8% year over year. Denver's steepest drop in more than a decade. Entire luxury developments in Lodo and Rhino, once fully leased before opening, are now struggling to reach 70% occupancy. Apartment complexes that once had waiting lists now advertise 2 months free and instant approval. The problem is not a lack of housing, it's a lack of balance. Developers flooded the skyline with high-end projects aimed at six-figure earners, ignoring the middle market that truly drives the city's economy. Meanwhile, inflation and remote work reversals have sent many renters packing. Tech firms that once anchored downtown have scaled back, and thousands of young professionals have left for cheaper mountain towns or smaller cities across the region. Smaller landlords are converting long-term rentals into short-term Airbnbs, but even that strategy is backfiring, oversaturating an already flooded market. The result is a feedback loop: more supply, fewer renters, and declining profitability. From a distance, Denver's skyline still gleams, glass towers reflecting the Rockies, cranes punctuating the horizon, but behind those bright facades, entire floors are sitting dark. Denver's rise was fueled by ambition, its struggle is fueled by excess. The mile-high city is now learning a hard truth: even paradise at elevation can fall when growth outruns demand.
Number 3. Miami, Florida. For years, Miami was the ultimate fantasy, a glittering coastal city where international money met American ambition. Investors called it bulletproof. Remote workers called it paradise. Between 2020 and 2022, rents soared nearly 60%, and luxury towers in Brickell and downtown sold out before a single brick was laid. But in 2025, the glow has dimmed. Vacancy rates have jumped to 8.9%, the highest in South Florida. Rent reductions of 10 to 15% are spreading across the city. For the first time in a decade, landlords are struggling to fill units, even in buildings that once had waiting lists. The reasons are clear. Insurance premiums have tripled in 2 years, property taxes are soaring, hurricane risk has worsened, and the cost of living, once justified by sunshine and glamour, has simply become too high. Developers built for the ultra-wealthy, but the ultra-wealthy stopped buying. International investors from Latin America and Europe have retreated, while domestic renters are heading north to Orlando, Jacksonville, and even Georgia for cheaper options. Entire floors in Brickell's newest towers sit unleased. Iconic neighborhoods like Edgewater and Wynwood are now dotted with "now leasing" banners, something unheard of just 2 years ago. For landlords, it's a financial storm. For renters, it's long-awaited relief. And for Miami's economy, it's a dangerous turning point. The luxury brand that defined the city's rise is now the very thing holding it back. Miami's skyline still sparkles across Biscayne Bay, but behind the glass and neon lies a market under pressure, glitzy on the outside, hollow on the inside. The city that once represented Florida's invincibility is now its clearest warning. When real estate becomes speculation instead of shelter, paradise becomes fragile.
Number 2. Seattle, Washington. For decades, Seattle was a housing fortress driven by tech, innovation, and growth. With Amazon, Microsoft, and hundreds of startups anchoring the region, the city's rental market seemed unbreakable. Apartments leased in hours, waiting lists stretched months, but by 2025, the fortress is cracking. Vacancy rates have climbed to 9.5%, up from just 3.8% 3 years ago. Rents have fallen nearly 9%, and landlords who once raised prices annually are now offering 2 months free just to compete. Downtown high-rises stand half-empty, while suburban complexes in Bellevue, Redmond, and Renton are cutting rents to fill space. The cause is the tech slowdown. Layoffs across Amazon, Google, and Meta have rippled through the city, shrinking the renter base that once fueled its growth. The pandemic-era migration has reversed, and remote work reversals are forcing some employees to relocate, not to Seattle, but away from it. Developers caught mid-project are scrambling.
More than 15,000 new apartments are set to hit the market by year's end, even as demand weakens. Property taxes and maintenance costs are rising, and landlords who once thrived on endless demand are watching their margins evaporate. Meanwhile, the city's once bustling downtown has lost much of its vitality. Hybrid work and declining foot traffic have gutted nearby restaurants and small businesses. Whole neighborhoods feel quieter, emptier, less alive. Seattle's story isn't about a crash, it's about a correction. A city built on innovation is now confronting stagnation. The rental market that once symbolized progress has become a study in overshoot, too much luxury, not enough balance. For renters, relief is finally here. For landlords, the reckoning has begun. And for America, Seattle's a blueprint of what happens when even the strongest engines of growth begin to cool.
Number 1. San Francisco, California. At number 1 stands the city that once defined urban success, San Francisco. For decades, it was the gold standard of real estate, a place where demand never fell, prices never softened, and scarcity fueled endless appreciation. But in 2025, that myth is gone. Vacancy rates have soared to 11.2%, the highest in the nation. Once unthinkable rent reductions, 15 to 20%, are now routine. Landlords are offering months of free rent, no deposits, and move-in bonuses just to fill space. And even then, units remain empty. The reasons are staggering. Remote work hollowed out the city's core. Downtown offices stand dark. Tech layoffs have drained the renter base that once sustained luxury living. Add record-high property taxes, rampant insurance hikes, and public safety concerns, and the exodus becomes clear. Neighborhoods like Soma, Mission Bay, and parts of Nob Hill, once the heartbeat of urban affluence, are now dotted with empty apartments and shuttered storefronts. Occupancy in some new high-rises has dropped below 80%, a level unimaginable just a few years ago. The fallout extends beyond housing. The local economy is unraveling. Restaurants, dry cleaners, coffee shops, all the small businesses that depend on renters and workers are closing in record numbers. The once vibrant energy of San Francisco has turned into an eerie quiet. Developers caught in the middle are halting projects or selling at steep losses. Some have declared bankruptcy outright. The city built on innovation now faces its hardest reset in modern history. San Francisco's collapse is not just financial, it's symbolic. It marks the end of an era where cities believed tech wealth could defy economic gravity. The Bay Area's beauty remains undeniable: the bridges, the fog, the hills. But behind that postcard lies the epicenter of America's landlord reckoning. The city that once seemed invincible is now the warning. No market, no matter how rich or iconic, is too big to fail.
From Phoenix to San Francisco, America's rental landscape is undergoing a transformation. For years, landlords held the power, raising rents, demanding premiums, and watching demand soar. But in 2025, that power is slipping away. Vacancies are rising, tenants are bargaining, and overbuilt cities are being forced to confront what happens when profit overtakes sustainability. Some see this as a crisis, others as a reset, a chance to rebalance housing, affordability, and community. Whatever the outcome, the message is clear. The era of unchecked rental growth is over. The new era belongs to balance and to those who learn from the crash. Thank you for watching Discover the Nation. If this story opened your eyes, subscribe, like, and share, because next week we're revealing the hidden cities where housing markets are silently collapsing before the headlines catch up. Because here at Discover the Nation, we don't just show the numbers, we uncover the truth behind them.